They woke the world to their magic, and their wizardry transcends time. Many have passed on, but their heroics live forever. On football's greatest stage, the gods of the game have earned their encore. Pelé, Beckenbauer, Cruyff, Maradona. Revered today by generations unborn when they weaved their spell. In the streets of South America, up laneways throughout Europe, on the dirt roads of any African village, the deeds of the past inspire the players of tomorrow. It's the cup of hope, the cup of dreams. It's football's biggest prize on the greatest stage of all. Not everyone can leave football's greatest stage a winner. That is, if you define winning as holding the trophy up at the end. But if winning can be described as playing to your limit, exceeding expectations, entertaining the masses and raising the standards of sportsmanship, then here's one of the biggest winners of the 1966 World Cup. It's Eusebio, Portugal's greatest hero. Yes, even greater than Cristiano Ronaldo. Even if Eusebio wasn't born in Portugal. Even if Ronaldo's achievements have now surpassed him. And even though today's generation would be laughing at the suggestion that anyone could be worthy of greater hero worship than CR7. The thing is, Eusebio did something Ronaldo didn't do. He stayed. Of course, the game was very different back in the 60s, when the youngster from the Portuguese colony of Mozambique signed with Benfica and played 15 years in the Primeira Liga. Maybe today's financial opportunities would have swayed him, but fact is, he won his European Cup, now the Champions League, with a Portugal club. He won his Ballon d'Or with a Portugal club, and after he carried the nation into the World Cup semi-finals, it was to a Portugal club he returned. African-born, maybe, and one of the first footballers from the continent to open the pathway to Europe and beyond. But when he died in 2014, it was with Portugal in his heart. The president of the nation declaring an official 3 days of mourning, and thousands upon thousands lining the streets in tribute. Eusebio not only won the Golden Boot in the 1966 World Cup, but FIFA held an internet poll to determine the player of the 20th century. He finished third, with only Diego Maradona and Pelé ahead of him. His role on football's greatest stage, and more on the great Eusebio after the break. When Portugal made it to the World Cup stage in England in 1966, it was in uncharted territory. From 1934 to 1962, it had failed to qualify for the tournament, but this time it had a marauding striker. Eusebio's international debut for Portugal had come in a World Cup qualifier against Luxembourg in 1961. But that was only 5 months after he had arrived from Mozambique, still a teenager. He scored a goal, but couldn't influence Portugal's challenge. Qualifying for 66 was a different matter. By now, he was Benfica's biggest star and first picked in the national team. From the first 4 matches in 1965, Eusebio scored 7 goals, and Portugal was in the World Cup. He was 25 and a Ballon d'Or winner when he headed to London for the '66 tournament. And as established as he was, his World Cup performance still staggered onlookers. A goal against Bulgaria, 2 goals against Brazil, 4 goals against North Korea in the quarter-final after Portugal were trailing 3-0. And at their first World Cup, he had carried them to a semi-final. England that year were on a mission, and defender Nobby Stiles was sent out to heavily mark Eusebio. And when Bobby Charlton scored 2 goals in front of 90,000 fans at Wembley, Portugal had been shut out. Eusebio still managed to score a late goal, but the whistle came too soon. He left the pitch with tears streaming down his face. Even today in Portugal, the match is known as Jogo das Lágrimas, the game of tears. Eusebio scored again in their winning 3rd and 4th playoff against the Soviet Union to finish with 9 goals and the Golden Boot. Until their 2016 European Championship, the 3rd placer remained Portugal's greatest performance. They didn't qualify in 1970 when Eusebio scored 3 goals in 6 qualifying appearances, nor in 1974 when he scored 1 goal in 3 appearances. By then his knees were shot, and that goal was the last of his 41 goals for Portugal, which remained a record until Cristiano Ronaldo overtook him in 2014, although Eusebio's strike rate of 0.64 is better than Ronaldo's. Eusebio played on with Benfica until the mid-70s, scoring a record 727 goals from 715 appearances. He was part of 11 Primeira Liga titles and won 18 other trophies. The last in 1968 was pure Eusebio, almost winning the match in the final minutes of normal time and taking time to applaud the Manchester United goalkeeper for the save. Manchester United went on to win in extra time, but Eusebio's sportsmanship ensured he too was a winner. Just as he was walking off the pitch in '66 on football's greatest stage. Italy's 1938 World Cup win was captured so wonderfully with this striking photograph. All eyes naturally drawn to the stern man holding the Jules Rimet trophy. Vittorio Pozzo was not just the mastermind to Italy's back-to-back World Cup triumphs in 1934 and '38, but is widely credited as the author of the WW, or 2-3-2-3 pitch formation, known as the Metodo. A widely travelled student of the game, Pozzo lived in Manchester at the turn of the century, played in Switzerland, and developed the Metodo through one of 4 stints as Italian coach. It was the framework from which the Azzurri built its reputation as the first defensive giant of international football. Pozzo also turned his revered captain, Giuseppe Meazza, from a pure striker to an offensive midfielder, or inside forward. The pair forming a brilliant brains trust for the 1938 campaign. Il Vecchio Maestro, the old master, first coached Italy at the 1912 Stockholm Olympics, and his longest stint was from 1929 to 1948, a term which included an Olympic gold medal in Berlin between his 2 World Cup triumphs. Today's coaches would perhaps find it strange that for much of his life, he was also a journalist with Turin newspaper La Stampa. A fascinating character on football's greatest stage. Always in readiness for Brazil to make history. On home soil in 2014, the most successful World Cup nation, aiming to further extend its record. On football's greatest stage, its own stage, the opportunity was there. They knew it. Their fans knew it. it was theirs to lose. After all, they had Neymar, unquestionably the Brazilian barometer, the key to their success. But before an expectant crowd of 58,141 fans, the Estadio Mineirão became the site of their most horrific failure. Brazil had entered its quarter-final match against Colombia, looking to progress past the last 8 for the first time since 2002. A 2-1 victory kept the dream of a World Cup win at home alive. Thiago Silva and David Luiz provided the goals, but Colombia's Juan Camilo Zuniga provided the heartbreaking drama. This moment, a vicious tackle on Neymar by Zuniga, was the moment that crushed Brazilian hearts and minds. Zuniga's knee in the back fractured the Brazilian star's vertebrae and forced him out of the rest of the World Cup. And it left a gaping hole in Brazil's lineup. As his teammates consoled him, the nation wondered, could they beat semi-final opponent Germany without him? And without Thiago Silva, who had been suspended for accumulating one too many yellow cards. On a night that was supposed to deliver Brazil a dream berth into the final, the answer was an emphatic no. Instead of a dream, it was nothing short of a nightmare. The first goal after 11 minutes, then 4 more in a 6-minute span in the first half. Brazil was dominated, obliterated. It was the most pitiful display in its history. It was their equal biggest margin of defeat. The most goals conceded in an international match, and marked an abrupt end to their 62-match unbeaten run on home soil. 2 days later, Neymar made his first public appearance since the injury and broke down in tears, knowing his absence had cost his nation.
Bora, pode ir. Desculpa.
The media post-mortem was brutal. 7 words for 7 goals. Pain, discouragement, sadness, rage, grief, disillusion, shame. Symbolic of a nation in mourning on a dark day on football's greatest stage. Tempers flare on football's greatest stage. And there have been some diabolical indiscretions over the journey. But what is the quickest send-off in World Cup history? The answer after the break, when we also compare Brazil's winning 1994 and 2002 World Cup teams. Welcome back. Before the interval, we asked what was the fastest send-off in World Cup history. It goes to Uruguayan Jose Batista, who was sent off after just 56 seconds of the final group match against Scotland in the 1986 World Cup in Mexico. Batista slid studs up into opponent Gordon Strachan. The referee wasted no time in producing a red card. Winning 2 World Cups in a row is so tough that only 2 nations have ever done it, and none for the last 56 years. But in that time, there have been 3 instances where a country has won 2 out of 3. And as the saying goes, that ain't bad. Brazil did it in 1962 and 1970, having missed out in 66. Argentina did it in 1978 and 1986, having missed out in 82. And then Brazil did it again, winning in 1994, missing in 1998 before winning again in 2002. On each occasion, the 8-year gap has meant the 2 winning teams have borne little similarity. The only member of Brazil's 1962 squad to still be around for the 1970 tournament was Pelé, but he didn't play in the 62 final because of injury. The only Argentinian to play in both the 1978 and 1986 tournaments was Daniel Passarella, but he didn't play in the 1986 final. And only two players, Ronaldo and Cafu, were in both of Brazil's 1994 and 2002 squads, although Ronaldo didn't play a single game in 1994. That leaves Cafu, the only person to have played in winning World Cup finals 8 years apart. And he's also the only person to have ever played in 3 World Cup finals in a row, part of Brazil's losing 1998 World Cup final team. More than that, he's Brazil's most capped player and was captain in 2002, the first to hold up the trophy.
I felt at the time we took this photo. It was such an incredible happiness I felt at the time we raised that cup. The whole world looking at you and saying, "You are good, you are winners, you were the champions." That moment crowned all the hard work done here in this room during all this time. Everyone has dreams while young. And when you raise the World Cup trophy, you see your dreams came true. That moment represents a dream coming true, the feeling of having the job done on behalf of your nation.
Back in 1994, Cafu was used mainly as a substitute, but played most of the final against Italy, coming on at the 21-minute mark after Jorginho was injured. The '94 World Cup was played in the United States and was generally a high-scoring and attractive tournament. The irony being that for the first time ever, the final was 0-0 at the end of extra time, and the first to be decided on penalties. Brazil was unquestionably the best team in the tournament. Forwards Romario and Bebeto are often judged a step below Brazil's greatest match winners like Pelé, Garrincha, Ronaldo and Neymar, but they performed admirably. The Seleção topped their group with Romario scoring in all 3 matches, while Bebeto was a scorer in their win over the USA in the round of 16, and they combined for 3 goals in the quarter-final, before Romario sent them into the final with an 80th-minute goal against Sweden in the semi. Italy, on the other hand, was fortunate to even make it out of the group stage, losing its first match to the Republic of Ireland, beating Norway with a single goal to Dino Baggio, and only drawing with Mexico. For the only time in World Cup history, the 4 teams in the group finished with the same points, Italy sneaking through as one of the best-placed third teams. They only sneaked through their round of 16 match against Nigeria too, trailing until the 88th minute when Roberto Baggio drew them level before his 102nd minute penalty gave them the win. But they found their rhythm in the quarter and semi-finals with sound victories, thanks to a goal each from Dino and Roberto Baggio, no relation, against Spain, and 2 to Roberto against Bulgaria. For Italy, the pain of losing the penalty shootout in the final was exacerbated by the fact that their captain, Franco Baresi, missed the first penalty, and their best shooter, Roberto Baggio, missed the last. But for Cafu and his Brazilian teammates, it was pure joy.
You play for your country, your nation, while millions are watching. Millions of people are watching what you do in a World Cup. For those who have never been to a FIFA World Cup, those who are going for the first time, for those who have already been there and could not become champions, I can say that becoming a world champion is the best thing on the planet. There is no greater thrill than to raise the trophy and say, "I am a world champion."
In 1998, Brazil would make the final again. But the sensational mystery ailment which afflicted the world's best player, Ronaldo, would cost them the chance of beating France. But nothing could stop Ronaldo, Captain Cafu, and the rest of the Brazilians in 2002. By any measure, the 2002 Brazilian team was superior to the 1994 victors. The 3 Rs, Ronaldo, Rivaldo, and Ronaldinho, all won the Ballon d'Or and form one of the great attacking trios of all time. While one of the greatest left-backs of all time, Roberto Carlos created beautiful balance with the breakneck pace on the right of Cafu. Certainly Ronaldo was in no doubt the 2002 team was the best of the 4 World Cup squads he was in. But his respect for Pelé stopped him short of declaring it the best ever. I dare to say that the team of 2002 was better than all the others Brazil sent to a World Cup. Except for the 1970 team, he said. Against the likes of the traditional World Cup powerhouses like Brazil, West Germany and Italy, there's no doubt Scotland and New Zealand would be considered minnows of the competition. Despite boasting a proud history with players like Kenny Dalglish, Billy Bremner and Dennis Law, Scotland has won just 4 of the 23 matches in its 8 appearances at the World Cup Finals tournament. New Zealand has qualified just twice and is still waiting for its first win after 6 matches. But did you know these 2 football nations share something remarkable in common? They have both left World Cup tournaments as the only undefeated team without taking the cup. Scotland played 3 draws in 1974 but failed to make it out of the group stage, while the winner that year, West Germany, lost a match in the group stage to East Germany. And in 2010, the same fate befell New Zealand, out after 3 draws, while eventual winner Spain lost its first group encounter. After the break, the genius that is German goalkeeper Manuel Neuer and his journey on football's greatest stage. Manuel Neuer is a different breed of goalkeeper. And while his unique and aggressive playing style could be interpreted as dangerous or risky, it has led him to big things on football's greatest stage. While he didn't invent the role of sweeper-keeper, Neuer certainly took it to a new level. Lightning quick for such an imposing physical figure, almost daring opposition strikers to take him on as he takes risks to launch attack from defence. The German international has made goalkeeping fashionable. And in 2014, he made it the key to Germany's World Cup success. For 20 years, Neuer was entrenched at his home club, Schalke, where he started at age 5. He debuted in the Bundesliga in 2006, but was snatched by Bayern Munich in 2011, the team for which he really blossomed. His Schalke fan base were not pleased when he announced he would be leaving. And surprisingly, nor were the fans of Bayern when word reached them that a rival player was entering their midst. But they were silenced quickly by the match-winning theatrics of their new stopper. No surprise either, with 13 trophies, including 5 Bundesliga titles and a Champions League, Neuer 4 times named UEFA Goalkeeper of the Year and winning the world's best goalkeeper award 4 straight years. But as good as Neuer has been for Bayern Munich over the journey, it all seemed to lead to football's greatest stage in 2014. Germany qualified with ease for the World Cup in Brazil and earned 2 wins from the group stage to progress to what would be a hard-fought knockout phase. But that's when Neuer's aggressive mid-air acrobatics came to the fore, holding off Algeria in a tense 2-1 extra-time victory in the round of 16. The Germans got through against France 1-0 in the quarter-finals, before an unprecedented 7-1 rout of host nation Brazil. Neuer's heroics continued in the decider against Argentina, making breakaway forays, forcing countless errors from the opposition. leaving the Argentinians remarkably without a shot on target before Mario Götze scored the winner in extra time. While Götze got the glory for the match winner, Neuer was hailed a colossus. He won the Golden Glove for the tournament's best goalkeeper, but finished only third in the ensuing Ballon d'Or, behind strikers Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi. The 2014 Ballon d'Or sparked widespread condemnation of the voting system. German legend Franz Beckenbauer, just one of many to label Neuer's lack of recognition unjust. But while Manuel Neuer didn't win football's greatest individual prize, his feats on football's greatest stage in 2014 will be cherished forever.